Hi, my name is Nonima Tigela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about the so-called confessions of dance, right? I want us to talk about that. For the longest time, people, or let's say many people have believed one thing, that the confessions, especially those that are linked with Ubongani Ndanzi, were the backbone of their state case, right? The thinking was simple, Gesana. Even if everything else struggles, the confessions will carry the case. Even now, you will see quick comment sections or live, people are saying, yeah, why is a confession? But here's the problem with that. A confession is not just about what was said, it's about how it was obtained. And that is where everything starts to fall apart, right? So Abantu, they don't think about the details surrounding the entire confession. The first crack conditions before confessions, that's what the judge needs to look into. Even if the case goes somewhere, that's what they will look into. Now listen carefully. I want to break down this to you. If the person says, because the reason I'm talking about, Untanzi mentioned, while Ubalo, do you see why I say Ubalo, everything that he brings in that courtroom, it will always expose their case, and it will now it's busy exposing the so-called confessions. Now I don't know if he understands that what he's doing right now, he's exposing the confession. He's exposing those damn especially the one that was made in front of Magistrate Cornea. He's busy exposing that, and it's not nice. Now, Undanzi says, I did not sleep. Okay, he asked the question, so you say I arrived what time? What were around 3:30 in the morning. And then 25 to 3, was that it? I think. But 25 to 3, I think, and then 25 to 4 was an hour. 25 to 5 was the second hour. Bazomlanda 20. No, but he slept 2 hours. That's what 3:30. Yes, 25 to 4. Excellent. So 25 to 4, 25 to 5, 25 to 6. Babuya Bazomlanda. So that's 2 hours of sleep. Undanzi mentioned that and did nothing about it. He put it on record. So that is called deprivation of sleep. That's some sort of torture, right? Now, if the person says, I was denied sleep, I was choked, I was electrocuted, I was moved around by police, then the court cannot ignore that. Then that is why I believe Ujadwata was like, he went anyway. Because the real question becomes, was this person still acting freely when he confessed? This is where now everything Umshololo Aitanda, because Umshololo, we know especially Tisake, she will always go for Section 35. Umshololo, when she argues, she looks for things that have to do with Section 35 of the Constitution. Am I right? Constitutional rights of a human being. She will always go for that, Umshololo. So now, if all of those things of I did not sleep, I only slept 2 hours, I was choked, I was beaten, I was electrocuted, I was Jontoni, Zonke nje, I was moved around, yay, all of that shendu, then the court is left with problems, Kengu. And that is exactly what is happening with Judge Rata. Because now, when she argues, she will bring Section 35 of the Constitution, dignity, fair treatment, freedom. That's what Umshololo will bring in. And you cannot separate the confession from the condition of the person. If the system broke him before the confession, then the confession is already compromised. And that is exactly where a fighting defense is. And that is exactly what Mngomezulu was fighting for. Do you understand? Now, the second crack in this entire situation, it's the AVL evidence. It's very problematic. It's proving things that perhaps we did not notice the first time. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down. The vehicle tracking system. The AVL won't say torture happened here, but that's not its job, right? Its job is to tell us where was the vehicle, when did it move, does the police version make sense? Here is the problem. Then when the AVL becomes inconsistent, questionable, incomplete, or suspicious at key moments, it doesn't just damage the timeline alone, it damages credibility, because if the vehicle story is shaky, then the police story is also shaky. And if the police story is shaky, then the confession becomes dangerous to rely on. And then that alone, or in fact, all of those things are very problematic for the confessions. They are very problematic. Now, the third crack of it all is this. The magistrate, Ukrone, failed dismally, and she knows if she failed. That's why perhaps when she did the recording, she was trying to cover herself for the failures that were happening. Maybe there is a lot that is happening there. Now, this is where it gets very serious. The safeguard in all of this was supposed to be the magistrate. That's where Vivian Cronje comes in now. The magistrate's job was very simple. Ensure the confession is free, ensure that no coercion is happening, ensure the accused is in proper condition. But what came out in court was problems, serious problems from Cronje's side, because under questioning, the process didn't look clean. It didn't look clean too. In fact, it started looking like not a proper confession, but a flawed statement taken under questionable conditions. Now, that alone is problematic. And once that happens, the court must ask, what exactly is this evidence? What's going on here? Now, the turning point is that now here is where people or most people misunderstand trials. Just because the judge allows evidence now, it does not mean he will rely on it later. When Judge Ratamu Kgatleng writes the final judgment, he must decide, was evidence reliable? Was evidence safe? Was evidence, did evidence survive scrutiny? And if the answer says, I am not relying on these confessions, then everything changes, because what is going to be left for Baloyi? Because everything else, including these confessions, has been challenged. It has been challenged. Now he is bringing an opportunity with Undansi to put everything under microscope, and Undansi is going to challenge all of that successfully. So now the real danger for the state is that, because now ask yourself this, if the confessions fall away, what is left for the state? Presence at the crime scene? No. Participation? No. Link to the murder? No. Without the confession, because if the answer is no to all of these things, then this case doesn't just weaken, it collapses. And that is what is going to happen today, tomorrow, or sometime this week, when Ntanzi deals with the confession thoroughly, when uBaloyi brings them and actually goes through with them, with Ntanzi. So in the end, the case will not be decided by what did he say. It will be decided by what was done to him before he said it. Because if the confession was born out of fear, pressure, exhaustion, coercion, then no paperwork, no signatures, no courtroom performance can save it. Absolutely nix. If Judge Rata is a fair judge, he will look into all of those things. And if the court rejects those confessions, then what we are watching right now in the courtroom of Judge Ratamu Kgatleng, it is not a strong case unfolding. It is a case slowly collapsing from the inside. And uBaloyi is standing alone there. I don't know if he understands that, but he's standing alone and things are not looking good at all. Nothing is looking good for him at all. I don't know if plan yakhe ithini, but Kubi. Oh, Shem Kubi. Kubi for yena, it's not even nice, guys. It's quite sad. Indaba yakho ni straight. Indaba yakho ni sad. So what are your thoughts when it comes to this? Let's talk in the comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.